Good morning, students. I am taking today off, so I wanted to make you a help video for today's lesson. Again, you should see this right here, help videos, maybe in grades, maybe in email, just so you have as much support for today's lesson as I can possibly give you. 107 is the quiz, so that's where the grades are coming from, but 107, the lesson, that's where the learning is being done. And remember, you can have notes open, so whatever strategies work best for you, please use them. Again, it's about the thinking and the learning, not necessarily about the right answers. So if you're concerned about your grade or getting the right answers, join those help labs, send me some emails, use these retakes and help videos as the year progresses, okay? Alrighty, let's click into it though. So we're gonna go directly to the quiz for us. Oh, that's all right. I was gonna view as a student. Let me view as a student. And I hope your weekend was well. All right, so now I'm viewing as a student. I'm gonna use this, click here. I'm gonna click into here. And the reason I want to view as a student, I'll still see my teacher dashboard, right? All right, 2, 1, 2, 2. So only 7 of you this morning, which is fine. It's not due yet because it will tell me this drop down. So you have this. You always have this little 3 rows right here, okay? Some of the cool parts, there's some really cool parts in here. Let's see, quick check linear functions, lesson introduction, learn. I'm pretty sure it was here. So I'm going to open this in a new tab. Let's see if it works. Oh, it's blocked. Yeah, turkeys. All right. So we'll just click into it. There it is. So this is just really helpful, and I put this link on the Nearpod too to highlight this example. But again, I just want to show you this because it's a neat program that you guys have access to. So I highly encourage you, if you're not already, which some of you are, which thank you, and then it's not marking complete. I'm sorry, I've worked with tech support. I changed the settings. I've updated it. So if it doesn't do it this week, something is wrong with their system and I'm trying to get it fixed. So thank you for your patience. Right here, we have a linear inequality with one variable that can be graphed on a number line or a coordinate grid, right? So number line, that's what we've been doing. It's a solid line where x is greater than 3, and that trick about which direction the arrow is pointing is the direction you shade will work because the variable's on the left-hand side. So a closed circle and we shade. But all of a sudden, if we add that y coordinate, whoa, the whole area gets shade. And it becomes a vertical line because this vertical line is the line x equals 3. So basically what's happening is no matter what value of y, because there is no y, x will equal 3. So that's why it becomes a vertical line, because every value of y, x will always equal 3. It doesn't change. Like when we start to add y, it'll start to change. So same thing over here. Now we have an open circle shaded to the right on a number line, but on a coordinate grid. What do you notice about the lines? These key details, it's a great skill to practice right now, just kind of honing in on those details, like a tiny math investigator, to determine what the correct answer is. If you get it wrong, no big deal. Go try to check which details you might have missed. But I love this lesson. I want to really highlight live lessons, the online lessons, help videos, practice problems and progress learning. All of it is just meant to do the learning and the exploring. And try it. If you're worried about your grades, I will help you. If you're frustrated with the actual understanding, excellent. That means you care and you're trying. I will do my best to help you. Okay? All right. So for those of you, whenever you watch these videos, if you're just trying to get to the actual meat of the video, feel free to skip around, skip back, pause, whatever you need to do. Oh, in the meantime, look, we had another student take it. Okay. So good work. Those of you who this makes sense, or maybe this is review. Let's go get some direct help on today's lesson. Some of the prior knowledge that you would have seen is the coordinate grid, is lines, equations of lines, and the inequality symbols. So the only thing that we're kind of doing right now is adding that layer of graphing and shading, solid line or dotted line, and possibly rearranging. So which graph, so before we look at this, Let me just do this by inspection. Remember the detail. I know y is greater than or equal to. So no matter what, I know it's going to be a solid line. So it could be a solid line with a negative slope, which it is, and I'll talk about that in a second, or it could be a solid line with a positive slope. Pretend these are on the coordinate grid. Right now they're just floating lines for examples. The next thing I know is no matter which way the slope is, I know it's a solid line, but I also know y is greater than. Because I know that, it is going to be shaded above. Because above the line is where all the y values will be greater than that line. So no matter which one, I will shade. I would shade above the line. Okay? So some key things when you have it in the form y greater than or equal to, two key details will help you kind of eliminate answers. We're looking for a solid line because of that equal to. And we're looking to shade it above. Right? Okay. Next, this isn't quite in the y equals mx plus b. Hopefully this is familiar, sparking some memory. M is the slope. The slope, we call it rise over run. Some review. If you guys are like, I already know this, you can kind of skip ahead. Rise over run. Really what's happening is it's the change in the y values over the change in the x values. Why'd you draw a triangle? That's the Greek symbol delta, and it represents change. We use it often. And if you remember, you can take the y sub 2 minus the y sub 1, which just means a y value and an x value, like an ordered pair, and you subtract them to find the change. Boop, get out of there. Okay, so y2, x2 merely means you're getting those values from the same ordered pair and you're placing them in that order. It won't matter. The cool thing, that's not right. Y doesn't go first. X sub 1, y sub 1. That's all that means. The sub number is just to match it. It's just like a subscript to say this x and this y go together. This x and this y go together. Okay, so that's a quick review of big concepts that maybe you never thought about or kind of was glazed over where it's coming from. Slope-intercept form, though, it lets us know the coefficient of the x variable is the slope. The constant term is the y-intercept. So here we go. That will be the y-intercept, 1. -3 will be the slope. So before even looking at those problems, just kind of taking a look at those details. It's so important. Practice details now. Practice looking at details in math class because, okay, it's not as big a deal as, say, when you're doing your taxes or buying a car or making big decisions. So practice details now. 1, +1, so that's going to be my y-intercept. It's gonna go there. It's a negative slope, so I know it's going to be going down. And it's going to be going down, so -3 over 1. So basically, it's going to be going down 3 over 1. Down 3 over 1. It's going to be a solid line like this. Oh boy, don't have a straight edge on the internet. And it's shaded above. So we're looking for a solid line, crosses at the y-intercept of +1 and shaded above. So y-intercept we're going to look for, solid line, shaded above. Okay, so not a solid line, don't even have to worry about those. Ooh, solid line, and look at that. They're both at the y-intercept, so all of these lines are exactly the same line. One just has the different symbols. This one would be this exact thing, but without that equal to sign. This one is that same thing, but it's flipped without the equal to sign. This one is the exact same thing, but it's flipped with the equal to sign. And then finally, this one is the correct one. A solid line, a y-intercept of +1, shaded above. I don't know if that makes sense. That's shaded above. In your mind, you might think it's shaded to the right. Well, think about it, because see, here's the above values. Y is going up. Does that kind of make sense? Up. Keep thinking about it. All right, so whatever line you have, all of the parts are going to be the same. Question 2, variation 2. Which graph represents the inequality x is greater than or equal to 2? Okay, it's still on a coordinate plane, and if you saw that exercise I showed you, and especially if you clicked through and worked through your lesson, you'll be ready to answer this. X greater than or equal to 2. Solid line at x equals 2, shaded to the right, right? All the values where x is greater than or equal to 2. That would be if it was strictly greater than. Here's the correct one. That would be if it was less than or equal to, and this would be if it was strictly less than 2. Think about it. Let me just write that real quick. This graph represents the value x less than or equal to 2, the inequality, excuse me. This represents x less than 2. Dotted line, solid line. Where it crosses the x, right? And then the direction of the shading, the less than. Those are all the values where x, like -2, -1, 0, 1. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, reach out, let me know, ask those great questions. It's about making sense. Question 3, variation 3. Which graph represents this inequality? Alrighty, friends, so now let's go use our nifty technology. You should have this bookmarked. Control copy, I highlighted it. Control V, psh, didn't work. Control C. Look at that, what's that symbol mean? Interesting. There it is. So now we know it's at -2, and that won't really matter, so we'll look for a solid line crossing the y-intercept at -2, shaded above. There it is, solid line, -2, shaded above. Let me zoom out. This one's shaded below, dotted line, shaded above. That was using technology. So what do we do if we don't have technology? If you watched the Nearpod and you checked out the Nearpod help video, I solved one and say something happened and all of our technology, poof, went away. Well, we'll need to put it into y equals mx plus b form. So we're going to go ahead and practice that one now in case you'd like to be able to do this by hand. This is a good skill for those of you who already know you're going to be determined to pursue a science or engineering, mathematics, technology, right? For those of you who are still maybe undecided, this is a good thing to just kind of practice following along to see if steps make sense to you. No matter what, math is good for your brain. And again, everybody can achieve high levels of mathematical understanding and mathematical careers. Nothing can stop you. Nobody's brain is different. It's just maybe their desire. And my favorite teacher, Jaime Escalante, he talks about it as ganas, like the desire to learn, to do hard work and to do that hard thinking, because math is hard thinking. All right, here we go. Cool thing, that flow of problem solving, this is an inequality, but I still can follow the same rules of equivalency. So if I add 5x to both sides, I'm okay. Everything is still going to be equivalent, meaning the new look will still be the same. Just like if I said hi, but instead decided to say hello, they might look different, but they are equivalent statements. So then I'm like, uh-oh, magic, magic. How did this happen? Okay, I added 5x to both sides. That -5x plus 5x, they cancel. Really, they equal 0. We don't need to. 3y plus 0 is just 3y. Greater than or equal to 5x minus 6. The reason I had to write it like that is I can't take away the 6 from x, or 5x, because 6 is a constant term. There's no variable there. So it's not what we call a like term. You've heard me say that before. A like term is the exact same variable. And then you can just deal with the coefficients. But in this case, there is no variable. This exponent is an invisible 1. So when we get into polynomials and different equations, you have to add variables that have the exact same power as well. So that's what it means by like terms. Exactly the same except for the coefficient. Okay, keep thinking. All right, so finally, that's 3y, but we still want to get y all by itself. You need to divide to undo the 3 times y, but notice I have to do it to each term. And this is okay. If you remember back to fraction, addition, and subtraction, think about all the way that fractions work. It's just division. And that way we can get rid of this and we can end up with y is greater than or equal to 5/3 x. That doesn't simplify anymore. And I'm going to leave it in this form. That's an improper fraction where the numerator is greater than the denominator. Minus 6/3, so that should be -2. And look, that is indeed our y-intercept, -2. See it? We're going to go graph this on Desmos just to convince you that they are indeed equivalent. Y is greater than or equal to 5/3 x minus 2. I have to say that because I will forget. So again, to use this, I'd use the greater 2 and then type the equal symbol, and the computer recognizes what I'm trying to do. 5/3, I use the backslash to make the fraction, but I can't just type x because I get a rational expression. So I need to arrow over so it's indicating multiplication. And -2. Boom. Identical lines. So this is in the slope-intercept form. It makes it easier for us to graph by hand. We can instantly see what the intercept is. It's not as obvious here what the intercept will be. And then you can also see what the slope is in case you want to check it. So remember, rise over run. Hey, get out of here. So we'll go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 3. 1, 2, 3. Boom. Perfect. And then you'd have this point, that point, and your straight edge. Okay, moving on. That was our third question. Here's our fourth question. We'll go back to question variation 1. Now remember, you may not have the same question. If you do, congratulations. I hope you're still following along and using your thinking. If you don't, that's okay. Very similar process, similar logic. Just like if you're baking something, you're not baking the exact same thing each time, but you're using the same recipe, same set of scales, same set of ingredients, okay? Cool. So let's talk about this. Before we look over here, because it's backwards, they want us to look at the graph and then pick. Obviously, it's highlighted yellow. Well, I wish I could toggle on and off where they show answer, don't show answers, so I can make these help videos, because I can't see just a student version unless I impersonate a student. Okay, let's talk about this. I need to scroll over. I need to move you over here. Before I worry about too much of going on over here, remember we've talked about this form, y mx plus b. It's kind of them that they also have the answers in that format, because if they had it in the other way where the x and the y were on the same side as the inequality and then the constant was on the one side, you know, it's a little bit more work. Okay, first things first, the y-intercept. So that's what the b is. So I know I'm going to be looking for y something. We'll talk about that in a second. X, we don't know what m is, -2. So I know it's a -2. The slope, so when I look for slope, I already know it's negative because it's like if we were walking, we'd be walking downhill, sliding down. So if you think about it, up or down. And it's always from the left to the right. So you're always walking from the left to the right. If you're going up a hill, it's a positive slope. If you're going down a hill, it's a negative slope. Okay. Boop, boop. Here's our y-intercept. That's going to be our b. Our slope is right here. Since it's right there, we'll just kind of go find where the next time it crosses. Oh, it looks like it crosses perfectly right there. So now rise over run. So I know it goes up 3 over 2. So it's 3 over 2. And again, because of the direction it's going, I know it's negative. So there's the slope. That goes in front of the x. The y-intercept is -2. There we go. So we have our y negative. Oh, look at this. They're all the same. Test-taking strategies. If you look at the answers and you notice they're all the same line, we don't really care about the line anymore. We did not need to find the equation for the line. We needed to talk about the symbol. Okay, so it is shaded above. See how these are all the values going up? So we know it's going to be y greater than. It is a dotted line, so we know it does not have the equal to sign. It is strictly y greater than. And that's literally all you needed to identify to figure out the right answer, because the equation of the line is identical. So test taking strategies, always important. Their tests will be forever throughout your career and your life. It just is. Both my dad, who worked for a Chevron company, for the military, for my career, it's just a part of the way people try to see how much you know. Remember, if you don't do well on a test, that's fine. Advocate for yourself. Go talk to them. Go tell them. Go show them what you know by a conversation, an email or a video maybe, right? Or your TikTok and Instagram. Maybe you'll show off your knowledge there. Okay, let me know if you have any questions. We only needed to test our understanding of this symbol and how it's dotted or shaded. Okay, solid or dotted, and which way it was shaded. Last question for today. Question 3, which inequality is represented by the graph? What does this say? Make sure to hit this, friends. I don't know if you have that. I don't know. So pause. If you don't want to listen to this, go ahead and fast forward. I changed my course settings. So this is new. Hopefully this all works for you guys. This might be something we need to do in order to get the system to recognize that you've completed it. You might not see this because according to tech support, it will auto track and you don't see this. That's what they told me. So that's what they made me switch my system to. And I'm hoping it solves all of our problems for overdues, not marking complete, and all of the completion tracking. So here we go, friends. I hope so. Okay, let's take a look at the answers. We've got a 1/2. Okay, so we could just do that by process of elimination. Notice how these two, the symbols, are the same direction. Okay, the inequality symbol is the same direction. We have y greater than or equal to. Well, let's just come over here. It's a solid line, so we know it's got to have that equal to, the line underneath. It's a solid line, meaning the answer, the solution, can be part of the line. Any number, any dot, any ordered pair on the line is also a solution. When it's dotted, like we saw before, nope, the values on the line are not a valid solution. It will not solve your inequality because it's not included. Think about the ages, think about profits, think about costs, think about building capacity, right? Sometimes if they say you have to have less than 100 people, when you hit that 100th person, you're in violation. So it's not included. That's the dotted line. We can't have those values. Okay, so we already know that's the symbol we're looking for. Solid line, shaded above, see the up arrow? So we know we're looking for this. So now the equation of the line. The y-intercept, it looks like it's halfway between 2 and 3. So I would say 2.5, right? 2.5 as the decimal is 2.5. Why? Because the name of this number is 2 and 5/10. That's the actual name, by the way, 2 and 5/10. Well, if you remember fractions, 5/10 simplifies to 2.5. Okay, so keep that number sense. What does it mean? What do decimals mean? What do fractions mean? So 2.5 is 2 and 5/10, or 2.5. So we know that's the y-intercept, and now we can think about the slope. It's down, so we know it's negative. So they're not quite that nice to us, but let's just look at the halfway mark. Halfway mark, halfway mark, halfway mark, halfway mark. Okay, so now halfway, halfway, halfway. So do you notice I kind of had to make up my own tick marks to help me kind of understand how many units down? If I go from 2.5 to 1.5, that's 1 unit. If I go from 1.5 to just a half, that's 2 units down. And then if I go over, it's one solid one. So it's 2 over 1, and it's negative. So that one may have been a little bit more tricky, but again, we could have. Let's see, would this work? Let's see how technology works. I'm going to copy them all. I have no idea if this will work or won't work. Let's try it. Let's get rid of that one. Let's get rid of that one. How come? They don't understand this symbol. So then I'm going to do greater than or equal to. Maybe they do now. greater than, so less than or equal to, and then greater than or equal to. Okay, so what you want to do is turn them all off one at a time and see if that makes sense to you. Finally, when using technology, look how this graph is very different than the graph they provided us. They go all the way up to 5, 5, 5, 5. So to help yourself, you might need to know how to adjust the settings. So you'll want to come here and you'll change your x to -5, your +5, and a step value of 1. Okay? Your y, -5, +5, and your get out of here, face. Step value. You can get rid of the minor. You can, what happens if I zoom square? Nice, look at that, zoom square. You can make it bigger, less. You can do reverse contrast. No. Anyway, never be afraid to click. Okay, this might be more helpful. Oh boy. I zoomed instead of grabbed and dragging. This might be more helpful as you can start to see, hey, that's not right. Look how close to 0 this line is. So it's not, my bad. It needs to be 1/2. Attention to detail. Okay, so look at that last answer where the slope is -1/2. Yes, all this is good, but it doesn't cross. Our graph doesn't cross over here at 5, so we know it's not the last one. Oh, our graph is not shaded that way. We know it's not that one. Ooh. But it's not a dotted line, so we know it's not that one. Aha. So there we go. Same, the only difference was one is dotted, one is solid. So that's a way to use technology to help you solve these problems. Okay, again, thank you for watching this. I hope this is supporting your learning and giving you confidence where you're earning these points. If you ever want to do the quiz together, let me know. Set up one-on-ones, come to those help labs. I try to do it in class. I'll try to provide you these help videos. And again, just get in there, try it, use technology, try to remember those skills you have, use our class for notes, anything that is helping you learn and do the thinking. So again, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys soon.